Okay, so we'll get started and we are going to go through, here we go. We're going to go through questions first, and then we will talk through, we kind of just had some more that we wanted to talk through if there's time, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Let me pull it up here. How's everyone doing? First of all, happy Thursday. My daughter corrected me last time. She's like, Mom, you said happy Wednesday to everyone, and it's actually Thursday. Okay, so cool. So we had a few questions. So I wanted to just cover those first, since those are questions you guys have. And then if we have time, we will just talk through, some things that we have prepared instead. So how often, I'll start with the first question, and then I don't know, whoever has the document, maybe can hit the next one. How often should you eat during the day? Every 2 to 3 hours, ? So I think, we can talk through this. There's definitely different pros and cons of meal timing. I think I was just talking to a client about this yesterday, and I think a lot of it will come from, what's your personal preference? Like what works best for you? So, and that could change depending on if you're in a calorie surplus, if you're in maintenance calories, if you're in a calorie deficit. It could change depending on, maybe like if a certain amount of food causes bloating and a discomfort for you. So those are things to think through first. When I'm in a calorie deficit, I get a little more creative with my meal timing. And it's just, usually I base that off of like when I'm most hungry in the day. I want to make sure the bulk of my calories are there. And when I'm not as hungry, I don't, I'll space that out a little bit more and just time up my meals based on just my natural hunger level. So I can take advantage of when I'm really hungry, I have plenty of food options that I can have. So for me, that's going to be spaced at different variables. Like I might have a 5-hour spacing and then it's like 2 hours, right? But I think generally speaking, in that 3 to 5 hour window is ideal for most people and a good place to start. So that your body has at least some time to recover between meals. If you're eating every hour, that's not going to be ideal. Or if you're intermittent fasting and let's say doing like an 18-hour fast between your last meal of the day and the first meal of the next day, that can cause some issues, especially for women hormonally. So that's something to consider too. If you don't want to go so long that your body feels like the stress alarm bells are going off and it's adapting in that way. So things to pay attention to, especially, this is more of like how often, every 2 to 3 hours or every 4 to 5 hours. But just speaking on intermittent fasting, experimenting is the best way to find out what works best for you. And on the IF topic, for women, most women really shouldn't go over 14 hours on intermittent fasting, or it can affect them hormonally. And that's not to say you could do 16 hours and feel amazing. So that's just something to pay attention to if that's something that you are considering doing. Start with a smaller window for your fast and then add on to that and see how you feel. What's your biofeedback? Is it making your menstrual cycle irregular, or like are hormones off there? Then definitely stop right away. Or are you feeling, really hungry? Okay, then what's the purpose of doing IF for you? You don't need to be super strict with that time frame. A lot of times intermittent fasting is a great way to shift that eating window so that you can take advantage. If you are in a calorie deficit, it makes it a little bit easier to do that. And there's other benefits too, but I think that's one of the main ones that I've experienced. So it can be helpful that way, but there's considerations there too. And then when you're timing your meals, can also play into like, when are you working out? You should be eating before so that you feel fueled for your training session and have adequate recovery there too. So my piece of advice would be start with 3 to 5 hour windows. Think through your day. Like, when are you usually hungry? Time it up that way and then adjust. Like, do you need a snack at the 2 hour window? Try that out. Do you feel good like spacing it out 6 hours so that you can have more food later in the day, because that's when you're normally hungry and you're more compliant that way? Then try that and see how your body responds. So do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's really individualized too. Just like you said, you kind of have to just see what works for hunger levels in your body and kind of keep track, journal it, write it
Yeah.
down somewhere where you can revert back to it and see what worked that day and what didn't.
And the
Hard to
science has changed too. I
decide.
think a lot of us heard like 10, 15 years ago, it was like 5 small meals throughout the day is going to be the best to balance blood sugar and stuff. And that's been pretty much debunked too. So I think just looking at your overall calorie intake that you want to have throughout the day. One thing that is important is getting those, keeping that, oh, my words are hard. Keeping the timing of protein. So as far as calories go, you can kind of flex those throughout the day or the week. As long as you're hitting that average, you're going to be good. But protein, having the more consistent intervals of protein versus like having all your protein at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, you're going to benefit a lot more by having, what's the word, that timing of your protein more often throughout the day. We'll use that sentence.
Frequency?
Yeah, the frequency. Yeah, there's an actual word that I just can't think of, but it's okay. We don't need it. So that's one thing, getting in protein throughout the day regularly is going to benefit you from a protein muscle synthesis standpoint. Making sure you're getting enough carbohydrates, especially around your workouts, is going to be really beneficial there too. So as far as the actual timing of your meals, yeah, journal it, see how you feel. If you're dragging normally in the afternoons, like maybe that's a good time for you to have snack. So
just gonna add also with like insulin levels, if you're feeling like you have really low energy during the day, and you'd rather feel a little bit more even throughout the day, then maybe kind of more snacks is going to be beneficial for you. But totally, it's an individual thing. I know that I feel differently on days that I exercise and days that I don't. And that's something that I've really learned just with experience and with doing it. I have that experience under my belt. So I agree with both what Autumn and Michaela have really touched on there.
Yeah. And one thing to really consider too, like for me, so if I go too long between meals, it's really hard for me to make smart choices with food. So even if it's like in the morning, like yesterday morning, I had to get blood work done. So my breakfast was way delayed. And I was already hungry when I woke up because I am in a calorie deficit right now. So that made it really challenging for me in the evening yesterday to make smart choices with food when I had chips in front of me or whatever. And so that's something to consider too. It might not even be like if you space your meals out 6 hours, then maybe that meal that breaks that 6-hour fast is going to be good, but maybe it's 4 hours later that all of a sudden you're just feeling like you have a hard time with compliance when you have those foods in front of you. So I prefer to eat more frequently because I don't ever get to the point where I'm like starving. If I get to the point where I'm feeling like I'm really hungry, then it's just a lot harder for me to manage my portion sizes and not just grab for the high calorie, quick energy item, because that's what my brain's telling me I need. So that's something to consider too. Like, how is compliance? Maybe you need to eat more frequently so that you don't get to that really hungry point. Yeah, we can go on to the next question. I think hopefully that's helpful there.
I think some of these we talked about last week.
Oh yeah, that one we did.
So we talked about like the survival and maintenance, and we talked about fat, didn't we?
That's weird that they're out of order. Yeah. Maybe this one, I highlighted the ones that we talked through, and then, yeah.
So the advice for being in a multi-week funk, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk about
so I actually have been reading a lot about sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system in regards to recovery, especially in females.
Yeah.
And this is like a big problem, I think, for a lot of people, because what we have that works against us nowadays is we stress about being stressed. So our ancestors a long time ago, they didn't stress about being stressed. So there is good stress and there is bad stress. And I think your body responds to it the same. Your body doesn't know the difference between a stress with a promotion at work or stress with your kids running around the house. It's the same damage going into the body, but it just kind of depends on how you look at it and how you view it. So I think that was huge to me to hear, don't stress about being stressed, because I do. I get like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. And I think just by realizing it and following your breath and knowing where you are at the moment and trying to task what's in front of you helps a ton with managing that stress and that anxiety that we get as females in the middle of our day. So, and just realizing you're going to stress, you're going to have stress in your life no matter what. And how we view that stress, like, oh, let me find the good out of this stress. You're always going to learn something from the stress that's being caused in the day, or something that comes up in your life. So that's been really interesting for me to follow in regards to how you look at stress in your life.
Yeah, because there's actual stress and then there's perceived stress, and our perceived stress is so varied from person to person, right? You could have, a single mom with 6 kids and a full-time job, and somehow sheer perceived stress is low. And then you could have someone that's maybe living with their parents and going to school and it's getting paid for, and their perceived stress is really high, even though the actual stress in their lives is very different. So that's something to consider too, like ask yourself, because a lot of us don't know. We don't actually know, like, what is my perceived stress higher than it should be? Or is it actually a lot lower than it should be? So I am pretty resilient with stress, but maybe I don't even know that I am stressed and I need to take care of myself in that way. So there's kind of, the two different sides, like, if your perceived stress is really high and you have a hard time with that, like, what are some tools you can implement? Maybe breath work. Yeah. 5 minutes of breath work a day. Just like sit down on the ground, put your hands on your heart and just breathe for 5 minutes and feel your body, like find a way to be grounded. Essential oils are such a quick way to ground yourself, I think, because if you have something you can like actually involve your senses, smell that, let it feel grounding to you, let your sit bones feel grounded into the earth, and just breathe for 5 minutes. And it's amazing how that can trigger that parasympathetic for you. And it doesn't need to be like, oh, I have to go to this 2-hour yoga class that's across town. Like, just sit down and breathe. And then if you are low perceived stress, recognizing, and I think even like the list is such a great idea, like write a list down of all the things that are drains for you. Like, what are all the things that are drains for you that are in your head and actual like tasks you need to do and things you're thinking about doing? Write them all down. And then make a list of what you're doing to recharge. Like, is there anything there? I was just talking to my sister. She's a CEO of 2 different companies and just 24/7 work. And she was feeling really burned out, and just talking to her about, okay, what's something you can do every single day for yourself that's small, that helps you recharge? And then what's something you can do once a week for yourself that helps you recharge? And then once a month, and then quarterly, and then yearly. Like, break it out so that you have those self-care habits built in. And maybe the daily one is just like, go outside for your cup of coffee and take 15 minutes for yourself every day. And the weekly one could be like, go meet a friend for a hike, or go do that really fun spin class you are looking forward to, or whatever it is that's fun too, because we need both. And women have a hard time, I think, taking that, like having that excuse for themselves of self-care. It's really important. It feels indulgent, and it's not indulgent. It's necessary to survive, and to thrive, really. So what's something that can help you feel calm and relieved? And maybe that's writing everything down that's on your plate and finding like some breathing tools. And then what's something that's fun that you can do too? Because fun is an important part of staying healthy. So what's fun for you? That's going to look different for everyone. I love that, Autumn. What have you been reading from is there like a book you recommend for clients?
There's a podcast that I've been listening to that's huge, that I love. Hold on. Let me get it. But I have like 8, so I don't want to tell you the wrong one. And then just a lot of school books that I've had going to school that I've referenced back to. Once I get started with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, I just kept rolling with it. So it is, one of them is, now it's not popping up. It's supposed to be in my And my thing is green. So the Bear Performance podcast, that's really good. It always touches on stress and stress relief and relation with nutrition. And then
it's called Bear Performance.
Bear Performance podcast.
Oh, Better Performance.
The Bear Performance podcast. Okay. I'll get it.
I'll just send that to the group.
Ah.
Oh yeah, I see it.
See it?
Yeah. I'll just send it on the group chat for Zoom.
And then there is the Nutrition Diva.
Okay.
This one's awesome.
Nutrition Diva.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'll send those out on the in the app for everyone.
And then the Roar, the book Roar by the doctor. I've been reading that one a ton too. Let me get it. I'll get it and I'll type it up.
Yeah, if you put it on like the Zoom chat.
Yeah, I'll get it. It's right here. I just want to make sure I know the author of it.
Roar, it's how to match your food and your fitness to your.
Yeah. It's Stacy Sims. There you go.
Yeah, cool.
With an S. Do you want me to write it down?
No, I'll send it in the group.
Okay. Yeah, that's great too. That
Cool.
has a lot on stress.
Thank you. Yeah, any other that you guys want to share on that? So this person was advised for being in a multi-week funk, high stress, anxiety and depression, low energy, only managing 2 workouts a week right now, being off schedule and out of routine with traveling back to back, not eating on point anymore, no motivation, feeling like I'm in survival mode. Any advice?
I feel like that's a season.
Yeah.
I'm always talking about the seasons that we get in, and that's so normal for everybody to get in. And I think sometimes we think, oh my heck, how come I'm the only one that's like running around like a freaking crazy person? But I've been in those funks too, and you're not alone. I guess that's my first advice that I could tell you. You know, it's just it'll pass.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get out of that routine. You just kind of have to find little things through the day that you can do to just make it through, like time management.
Embracing some of those opportunities that you do have to be in your normal routine. Not necessarily normal. I mean, it could be a different routine, but like your bedtime routine, your morning routine, like maybe you get up 15 minutes earlier than whatever chaos is happening in the house, just to give yourself 15 minutes to do something that you want to do. You know? Yeah, I think a lot of people, I'm one like that. Like I really thrive on routine. So, you know, even though it's not always the same routine, a couple of days of it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like back in it and feeling energized. So yeah, that's a big one.
I think too, talking to your coach, telling them where you're at, because maybe that means for you, you don't need to track your food. Like, let's pick 4 things that you want to do every day that are going to help you feel your best. So, you know, I love just like 4 or 5 things. And maybe that's what Julie said, like my 15-minute morning routine. That's going to be number 1 because it sets the tone for the day. Maybe it's, I'm going to drink 30 ounces of water. You know, these are like some of my favorites, 30 ounces of water by 10 a.m. I'm going to have 30 grams of protein by 10 a.m. I'm going to be in bed by 10 p.m. every night and put my phone elsewhere. Even though I have a ton of things to do, I can make a to-do list for tomorrow and put my phone away, and I'm going to worry about it tomorrow. So whatever it is that you feel like will help you manage the stress, but also will keep you in that routine of some sort and in a routine that really benefits you. And then what habits are going to help you feel your best right now? Like shift. Okay, I no longer can do what I was doing before. I can't work out 5 days a week. Maybe tracking my food is not possible right now because it's like one thing to the next. So maybe I'm going to be conscious of my protein intake today, and I'm going to get, protein in 5 times today. I know I can do that. Or, whatever it is, we can shift as coaches too and help you adapt to whatever situation you're in right now, to where, maybe you're not exactly what you want to be doing for your fitness and physique goals that you had planned, but you're in a way better place than you would be if you just threw in the towel on everything. And so that's part of it too. And just remembering that that's what life is like, and being able to find sustainable things that can carry you through those stressful moments is where the longevity is in, feeling your best too. So talk to your coach and then think through, like, what are the few things that I want to commit to that I know are doable, and build off of that if you can.
I totally agree there. That's a part of what we're here for you guys for, is not just looking at the food that goes into your mouth. It's kind of a more holistic, larger scale approach. So definitely the positive kind of attitude, looking for the positive in your day. I know it may sound a little cheesy, but it has huge
gratitude,
responses. And then just kind of doing an audit on your day to day in terms of how you're spending your energy. I think it sounds like a lot of us are actually in this point in our life, in our phase right now. And for me, that means my kitchen is not as clean as I would like it. I just don't have the capacity for that right now. And I'm learning how to let go and be okay with that, so that I am spending my energy elsewhere where maybe it's just a little bit more important. That's going to look different for everyone, but it could be nice to, kind of take a step back and spend just 2 or 3 minutes thinking about, what are those things that could maybe be put on the back burner for now, instead of trying to get it all done.
I love that. I just saw something on, I don't know where I saw, I think a therapist posted it on social media, and it was actually owning the things you're not doing, because it means you're choosing to do things that are different. So for me, it's I'm choosing to spend quality time. I'm choosing to spend quality time with my kids, and I'm choosing not to. And because of that, I'm choosing not to keep up with the laundry. I'm choosing to serve my clients and work. And because of that, I'm choosing not to deep clean my house every 2 weeks. I'm hiring someone else to do that. So, and I don't need to feel bad about having a messy house in between, because that's what I'm choosing something else. And so I can own the things I'm choosing not to do. And same with Casey, maybe she's choosing not to clean up her kitchen between meals, and she's doing it at the end of the day, so she can choose to do whatever it is that she is prioritizing. And then you're not worried about all the things you're not doing. You're just nope, that's a choice I made in the situation I'm in right now. And it's a conscious choice. So then there's no shame. You're not feeling added stress because you're not doing all these things. And just, thinking of it that way, all the things that you feel like you should be doing, think about, okay, no, I'm choosing not to do that right now because I'm choosing this instead. And that can help too, I think.
I love that, Michaela. It's like you're avoiding feeling neglect by doing that, right? You're not neglecting somebody or something else.
Yeah,
you're choosing this way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it could be even with your plan. For me, I had to scale down my fitness over the last year. Well, it wasn't near as much as I would love to do, but I chose to work out 2 or 3 days a week instead of 5 to 6, because I wanted to be able to help more clients. And so it's that was the choice that I made. And I felt really good about it because that's what I wanted. So instead of feeling I'm not in as good a shape as I want to be in, and stressing about that, it was, no, this is the season of my life. I'm focusing on this instead. And I love that. So I think figuring out, and that might mean the same thing if you're in a calorie deficit and wanting to see results and it's not happening. Instead of just feeling constant stress about that, choose to be in maintenance. And because you have other things that you're prioritizing right now, and that's okay, you can still accomplish so much from a health and longevity standpoint too. So.
And I think if people struggle with that, making that choice, like saying that you are okay with those things, even though deep down you're like, oh no, I'm just going to think about it all day, but I'm going to say I'm okay with it. Like words of affirmation and reassuring yourself is huge. I mean, that really does help for you to not just make a statement, but like give yourself assurance that you're making the right choice for yourself at that time.
Yeah. One I love is I'm exactly where I need to be in whatever it is. I'm exactly where I need to be, and everything is as it should be. And I can find gratitude in whatever it is that I'm doing. You know, because there's something there is, and in that crazy stage, like maybe, you know, a lot of high stress, different things there, but maybe there's some things that are causing your stress that are good too. And so finding that and embracing, you know, those things, or maybe it's all bad. It all feels bad. The stress is all coming from like negative things, it feels like, but it's thinking through, okay, this is an opportunity for me to grow. Like, what can I learn from this here? And how can I, you know, see my own resilience through this too, and be proud of that. Any questions from you guys? Oh, go ahead, Autumn.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just find something that in your day, if you know one thing that's going to make you happy. For example, I look at a day of clients, and if I know I have a day that I'm like, I have to move today, I have to walk, I have to be with my dog, I will change a appointment and move to just like that. So, I mean, it may be last minute. And so it's kind of teaching yourself to say no.
Boundaries.
Same thing with you guys. I choose not to clean my kitchen. It's just, you do have to give yourself boundaries, because if not, we'll wear ourselves down into the ground, and that creates a whole other ball of issues, you know? So just saying no, I think too, and being okay with, no, I can't do that today. I'm taking care of myself for an hour today. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
We all need more women examples, I think, to show us that that's okay to do, to say no, and like, I need to take care of myself. Yeah. And I had a client that she needs same thing, movement to feel good. And it was like she has older children. So it's a hard thing to let them know, like, it's easy for them to, you know, pull that away from her kind of. And so she was trying to figure out, you know, how to explain that to them. It didn't feel like she could. And so talking through that, you know, in order to help them and be there for them, that's really important. She gets that time, and even just to let everyone know, like, hey guys, I'm working out from 8 to 9. We can schedule the rest of the day after. And even, you know, on vacation, whatever it is she needs, just let everyone know it's on my calendar. I'll be gone, and we'll do activities when I'm back. So I think a lot of times too, people, if you set that boundary, then people, you know, they might have a hard time with it, but then they can deal with it, and you need to take care of yourself, and so that you can be there for other people, because otherwise it's really hard to, and you're resentful, and then it's not really, you know, helping anyone. So yeah. Well, it's 10:30. These calls go by so fast. Thanks so much for joining, you guys. And then if you guys end up listening to that podcast or reading the book, if you guys have anything you want to share on it, let the group know. It'd be fun to discuss too, for sure. I hope everyone has a great Thursday, and I'll send out this Zoom link in a little while. You say hi? Okay, thanks guys.
Thanks, Scotty. Hey.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks, Kayla.